As I sit here in this Nashville bar, I am reminded of a strange chain of events that have occurred over the last year of my life. This is the bar where I think it all started. This is a story worth telling, so here we go. My name is Mark. I'm 30 years old. I'm a music producer. At the time, I was living in Austin, Texas, working for a small record label. I was married to a beautiful accountant, Kelly, who was 29. We were married for about 7 years. We recently decided to start a family. Although we had been dealing with this issue for about 3 months, she was still not pregnant. So far, this hasn't been a problem, as we both really enjoyed the process. Sometimes I had to travel for work, so it was in that fateful week. I needed to go to Nashville to work on a project I had been assigned. I left Thursday morning and was due back Saturday afternoon. I hated being away from Kelly, especially when we were trying to have a baby. What I like most about Kelly is her long legs. She is almost 6 feet tall, with legs that seem endless. She wraps them around my back when we're in missionary position. She was a volleyball player in high school, so she's very athletic. She has long blonde hair, a very beautiful face, and above-average breasts. Yes, I am a very lucky person. I'm about 6'2", quite muscular, and, according to Kelly, quite handsome. I was a football player in high school. In fact, I was the star quarterback on a state championship team. I had a scholarship to play in college, but an injury during my freshman season forced me to give up football. I focused on studying, enjoying life, and later on Kelly. We met in my last year, and she was in her second to last year. We got married right after it ended. During my senior year, I took a part-time job at a recording studio in Austin. I was an assistant to a really good music producer. After graduating with a business degree, I was hired full-time as a music producer. I basically took the place of the woman I worked for. She moved to one of the large companies in Nashville. Her name was Ellie, and she became quite an important figure in the industry. Ellie and I became good friends, and she constantly helped me with my career. I hoped to one day work for one of the big companies in Nashville. Meanwhile, I was working quite successfully for a small label where I worked in Austin. There was a lot of great talent in Austin. After graduating, Kelly took a job at an accounting firm in Austin. We were still renting, but had saved up quite a bit of money for a down payment on a house. As soon as she became pregnant, we planned to buy a nice family home. Ellie and I kept in touch, and she would send me business from Nashville from time to time. That's why I went to Nashville. Ellie arranged for me to work with several new up-and-coming artists. She wanted me to produce their album on our label. I went to meet them to see if we could make it work. If all goes well, they will record in our studio. She was pretty confident that this duet would be popular someday if we decided to take the risk. Apparently, the major label Ellie was on Drop Them, so she came to me. I've always trusted Ellie's judgment, so I was determined to do it. So, let's go to Nashville, the heart of the country music world. My plan was to meet them on Thursday to plan everything. On Friday, we were supposed to make a demo, select songs for the album, and ultimately sign a record deal. If all goes well, they'll be in Austin next week to record the entire album in our studio. I'll also be booking them some nice venues to play in Austin. Austin is considered the live music capital of the world. I arrived in Nashville on Thursday afternoon and immediately got to work. Finished around 8 in the evening. I had a glass of wine at the bar and then went to my room. I called Kelly and we talked for about half an hour. I already missed her a lot. After talking with Kelly, I fell asleep pretty quickly. It was a long day, and the next day I had another work shift waiting for me. The next day I had a lovely lunch with Ellie and then got back to work with the group. Our plan was to work late into the evening, finish everything, and then return home on Saturday. I called Kelly after lunch and told her I'd be working late so I wouldn't call her tonight. I'll call her on Saturday before I leave. We talked a little, said, "I love you" to each other, and I got back to work. Everything was going well with the group. Ellie was right, they were truly talented, they just needed a chance. This was also a possible breakthrough for me. If I could get this album on the charts, my reputation in the business would increase, and perhaps I could reach a larger market. The demo turned out great. We chose the songs and signed a contract. Most of the songs were their own, but a couple of them were written by other authors. Overall, everything went very well. We finished around 9:30. We were supposed to record the album next week in our studio in Austin. My life at that moment was going just fine. I returned to the hotel a little after 10 p.m. I told Kelly I wouldn't call, so I didn't since she was probably already in bed. I was still excited from the day, so I decided to have a glass of wine at the bar. After the first glass, I decided to have another one and then go to bed. 2 glasses of wine should help me get a good night's sleep. My plane didn't leave until 13 the next day. I was about halfway through my second glass of wine when a really beautiful woman sat down next to me at the bar. She was dressed in a very professional business suit. She ordered a glass of wine and smiled at me. I smiled politely back. She took a few sips of wine and then began to cry. I was the only one who sat next to her. What was I supposed to do? She clearly needed to talk to someone. I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but are you okay?" "No, it's not okay," she replied. "Do you want to tell me why you're crying?" "Actually, I really need to talk to someone. I'm really upset right now." "Well, I'm no psychologist, but you can talk to me if you want." "Thanks, but I don't want to burden a nice guy like you with my problems." "It's no big deal, ma'am. My name is Mark." "My name is Patty. It's very nice of you to offer to listen to me. I think it will make me feel better if I can talk to you for a little while." We grabbed our drinks and sat at a table away from the bar. Patty told me that she had just received a call from her husband. Patty said she was in town for affairs. He called to say that he was in love with another woman and was leaving her. I'm guessing Patty was about 34 or 35 years old. She and her husband were married for 13 years. Her husband told her that he was leaving for his 24-year-old girlfriend. "Patty, did you know or suspect something?" I asked. "No, he hid everything perfectly. In fact, we made love 2 days ago, right before I arrived in Nashville. I feel like a complete fool for not knowing. I also feel like I'm probably not worth anything to him since he abandoned me so easily." I spent the next few minutes reassuring her that it wasn't her fault and that she was a very attractive woman. In fact, she was really attractive. I couldn't imagine any man wanting to get rid of her. We talked a little more, and I think I was able to cheer her up. And then she asked me a question that really took me by surprise. "Mark, I need to feel like a woman tonight, and I want to show my husband that too can play this game. Let's go to my room. I promise you won't regret it, and you'll never have to call me again. I need you tonight." If I were single, I think this would be a scene that every man dreams of at least once in his life. However, I was happily married, and I made it clear to her that I would never cheat on my wife. She seemed pretty disappointed, but said she respected that I had decided to remain faithful to my wife, unlike her worthless husband. Then she said that she needed to go to the toilet, but that I should not leave. She wanted to talk until we finished our wine. When she stood up, I stood up too, which, as a well-mannered gentleman, I always did for a lady. As I was getting up, she dropped her purse on the floor. Some of her things fell out. So, like a gentleman, I bent down to collect everything for her. She didn't bend over to help. I packed everything and gave her my purse. I sat down and continued drinking. She returned a few minutes later, and we continued drinking and talking. I had almost finished my glass of wine when everything started to get blurry. I began to feel dizzy and my speech became slurred. I knew I hadn't drunk enough to get that drunk, but that's exactly how it felt. The room began to spin. I realized that I urgently needed to get to my room. Patty commented that I might have had too much to drink and offered to help me get to my room. We headed to my room, but I was quickly losing consciousness. The last thing I remember was Patty opening my room with the key. The next thing I remember is waking up around 10 a.m. the next day. I still felt a little dizzy and didn't know how I ended up in bed. I was naked and my clothes were folded on the floor next to the bed. I think Patty helped me get to my room, and then I took off my clothes and went to bed. I didn't remember anything else. I took a shower and tried to clear my thoughts. I didn't know what happened, but I knew I didn't drink enough to get that drunk. I can stay on my feet pretty well from alcohol. I also began to wonder what happened to Patty. I got dressed and headed to the airport. When I arrived at the airport, I learned that my flight was delayed until 3 p.m. I tried to call Kelly, but the call went straight to voicemail. I left a message that my flight was delayed. I tried calling several more times over the next few hours, but each time the call went straight to voicemail. This was unusual because she always carried her phone with her. The flight was delayed a little more, but we finally took off around 3:40. The flight took about 2 hours, so I arrived in Austin around 5:45. I tried calling Kelly again. This time the call went through, but no one answered. I left another message that I had just arrived in Austin. I took the shuttle to my car and finally made it home around 7:15. The apartment was dark when I opened the door. I also didn't see Kelly's car in the parking lot. Something was happening, but I couldn't understand what it was. Kelly had to answer the phone, and she had to be home. I started to worry that something might have happened to her. I walked around the apartment to see if there were any signs of a struggle. Maybe someone broke in and kidnapped her. Everything looked as usual. I noticed that several things were missing from her closet. What the hell is going on? I sat down on the couch with my laptop in front of me on the coffee table. I was going to start calling her parents and the police. I didn't want to scare her mom and dad, but I needed to call in case she was there for some reason. They live 30 miles away in San Marcos. I took out my phone and a message appeared on the screen. It was from Kelly. Thank God, I thought. She is all right. Her message said, "Are you at home and do you have your laptop nearby?" I texted her back. "Kelly, where are you? I was so worried. I thought something happened to you. Are you okay, baby?" She wrote, "Yes, I'm fine. Turn on your laptop and call me on Skype. Then you'll understand what's going on." I turned on my laptop and logged into Skype. I then contacted Kelly via Skype. The first image that appeared was basically Kelly's face in front of her camera. I couldn't pinpoint exactly where it was. "Hi, honey. Welcome home. Did you have a good time in Nashville?" "Kelly, what's going on? Where are you? Why weren't you home when I arrived?" I asked. "Answer my question first, Mark. Did you have a good time in Nashville?" she said. "I was there on business, Kelly. I did what I had to do." "What the hell is going on here, Kelly?" I said. She made an angry face and said, "I'll tell you what's going on. You're a traitor. You've done a lot more than just work in Nashville. I know about the woman you picked up at the bar last night. I also know you brought her to his room and had sex with her." "Are you crazy? The last thing I would ever do is cheat on you. I admit I did talk to someone at the bar, but she was crying because her husband left her and just wanted to talk. That's all I did, and only because she seemed very upset," I said. "You're such a liar, Mark. I have a video of you entertaining her in your hotel room. One of your coworkers sent it to me. He said he saw you flirting with her and was worried you might cheat on me." He was so disgusted by this thought that he decided that I should know the truth. So he returned to the room and installed a hidden camera. He did not give his name because he wanted to remain anonymous, but he lived in the room with you. "This is nonsense, Kelly. There was no colleague with me on this project. I was alone in my hotel room, and I swear to you, there was no one else in my room." "Another damn lie, Mark. I have a video, and it shows a beautiful blonde in your arms. I'm sending you this video by email. Watch the video and tell me it's not you." I played the video she sent. The video was taken in my room, and of course it looked like the girl I was talking to last night was having sex with me, just like she said. We were both naked, and of course it looked like I did what she said. The problem is that I know this is not true. Something was wrong here. I returned to Kelly on Skype. "Kelly, I know it looks bad, but I didn't do it. Something is wrong here. I didn't have sex with this woman." "Boy, Mark, you are so great. I have proof, but you still deny it." "Well, honey, two can play this game. I mean, Fair is fair, right? She walked away from the camera, and I saw that she was wearing a very thin peignoir. She looked very hot and sexy. Suddenly, this young, handsome, muscular guy came into view and hugged Kelly. It looked like they were in a motel room. I screamed, "Kelly? What the heck?" "I told you, honey, two can play this game. It's time to get a little revenge, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it." They started kissing in front of my eyes. His hands were all over her. I shouted, "Hey, get your hands off my wife now." They both laughed. "Kelly, please don't do this. You are making a big mistake. I didn't cheat on you. Come home and we can sort this all out. Please just come home so we can talk." It was more than I could bear. I had no idea where the video came from, but I knew I was innocent. I couldn't stand it and cried like a child. I was very hurt. I couldn't look. I was inexpressibly hurt and humiliated. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I said, "Kelly, you have hurt and humiliated me more than I thought was humanly possible. If this was your plan, then you have succeeded. I am innocent of what you accuse me of. However, I will find out the truth, and when I find out, I just hope that you can live with yourself." She suddenly looked a little remorseful, but then she laughed and said, "I know what I saw, Mark, and now you know what it's like." I turned off Skype and turned off my computer. The next morning, I woke up hoping it was a bad dream, but I knew it wasn't. Somehow, I had to get to the bottom of it all. The key was the video. It looked real, but I didn't remember having sex with anyone in my room. I remember talking to Patty, who apparently was the woman in the video, but I don't remember her being in my room. Then it all came back to me. Soon after she went to the restroom, I started to feel different. I thought I somehow got pretty drunk from 2 glasses of wine, but now I started to wonder. She dropped her purse, and I picked it up for her. She didn't bend over to help. Could she have put something in my drink? That must be the case. They slipped me something. Then I barely remember how she helped me get to my room. Something else suddenly dawned on me. Was there anyone with her? I had a feeling that someone else was there. The next thing I remember getting to the door was waking up the next morning. They could easily stage this video to make it look real. I knew someone who could help me. I called my good friend Jerry Burns. Jerry was a video expert and freelance photographer. He ran his own business out of his home. He made professional videos and photographs. I called him, and luckily he was at home. I explained everything and told him the whole story. He told me to come this afternoon. I bought a copy of the video Kelly sent me. He watched the video at normal speed and said that it did look pretty depressing, but he noticed a couple of flaws. He wanted to see it in slow motion and on a larger scale. He had sophisticated equipment to determine if it was a fake. He said it would take a while, but he would call me tomorrow. I spent a restless Sunday afternoon not knowing where Kelly was or what she was doing. I also cried because I knew my marriage to Kelly was over. Even if I proved my innocence, I could never get her back. The vision of what she did to that young guy haunted me, and I will never be able to forget it. It was around 6:00 when I received a text from Kelly. "Just wanted to let you know that John really wore me down last night. We had fun all night. I'm going to do it again." She actually kicked me while I was lying down. I just wrote back and said, "I was set up, Kelly. The video is fake. I don't know who did this, but I will find out, and you will be very sorry. You do what you think you should do, but remember, so do I." She wrote, "More lies from Mark. That's what scammers do." I didn't answer. I knew she didn't believe me, so I would get proof. On Monday morning, I went to work because I still had to produce the album. At least it went well. This band was amazing, and the records sounded great. I've become really good at what I do. We were taking a short break that day when a man came up and asked if I was Mark Lambert. I admitted that I was. "You have been served with notice, sir." He left. I opened the envelope and found divorce papers from Kelly. She accused me of adultery. I decided that this bitch would pay for this. A little later, Jerry called me and said that I needed to come in the evening. He had some interesting things he found on the video. I also decided that I needed a lawyer, so I called my friend Bernie, one of the best family law attorneys in Austin. He also specialized in defending men in divorce cases. I told him the whole story. He said he definitely wants to take on this case. He also wanted to go with me to Jerry's to study the video. We all met in the evening at Jerry's studio. Jerry started by saying, "Mark, that's you in the video, but it was staged. It looks like you were drugged with something. At normal speed, you appear to be reacting, but in reality, you were unconscious. I can also show you who did it." Jerry brought the video up to the big screen and played it at slow speed. The video showed me on the bed as Patty rode me. "Look at your head, Mark. Your eyes are closed, and your head only moves when her body goes down. And it moves the same way every time. Your hands are on her hips, but they never change position. Your eyes never open. It seems that at least sometimes you would look at the beautiful woman with whom you are apparently having sex." Jerry said, "Mark, these things are usually done by guys who want to seduce your wife. Since whoever set you up wasn't trying to seduce your wife, we need to find out why he did it. Kelly went out and just slept with a stranger, so that his revenge did not include sex with your wife. We should probably find out who did this first," I said. "I can show it," Jerry said. He took the film a little further. The camera was probably on a tripod as the image was fairly stable, but there was someone behind the camera. I know this because when Jerry zoomed in, we saw his face in the mirror on the closet next to the bed. He must have moved the camera slightly to give us this shot. Jerry printed it out for us. I knew this guy. His name was George Zachary. We studied together at school. He was also on the football team. I took his place as quarterback. In fact, we competed for first place in all sports, and I always won. He was hired last year at the recording studio where I worked, and he was eventually assigned to me. I can't say I really hated George, but he hated me. I started getting a lot of complaints about George, so I started documenting all of his mistakes. In the end, I had to fire him. This was about a month ago. He said I would regret it. He also said that he was a better quarterback than me and that he should have gotten a college scholarship. His jealousy was pretty obvious. I never took George seriously, but apparently he has now successfully destroyed my marriage. He wanted revenge, and apparently this was his way of doing it. It wasn't hard to put two and two together here. George hired this girl to drug me with something and deliver it to my room. Then George came and took an incriminating video. He sent it to Kelly, saying he was a caring colleague. Kelly bought it wholeheartedly. She allowed her anger over watching the video to overshadow her common sense. All she had to do was sit down and talk to me, listen to my side, and we would work it out. I told Bernie to set up a meeting with Kelly and her lawyer as soon as possible. We were going to expose it all. Bernie suggested that I go back to Nashville and try to find Patty. I was confident that I could convince her to come to the meeting and tell me what had happened for a price. I wasn't sure when I would be able to go to Nashville, but I thought it was worth a try. The next day, everything was going well as we finished the album. I had a feeling this band would go far. I will say that everything went well until the end of the day. After completing the recording, my boss, Mr. Perkins, called me to his office. "Mark, the owner, Mr. Tess Jenkins, received a video of you with a young woman while you were working in Nashville. It was sent by a former employee who said he didn't like our company being represented in such a vulgar way. He said you married, but it wasn't your wife." "I can explain everything, Mr. Perkins." He interrupted me. "Is that you in that video?" "Yes, but I can explain." He interrupted me again. "Mark, I'm sorry, but Mr. Jenkins has asked me to inform you that you have been terminated with immediate effect. You need to clear your desk now. Mr. Jenkins is a very religious man and does not like it when his employees break the commandments." But I was set up by George. "Mark, his decision is made. You're fired." "Mr. Perkins, I have proof of what I am talking about. I will present this truth. The company may be guilty of wrongful termination. I am simply telling you what will happen. I will go quietly." I called the airline and booked the next flight to Nashville. At 21:30, I was sitting in the lobby of the same hotel. I had to find Patty. I had to convince her to come to Austin. Bernie called while I was sitting in the lobby. He made an appointment with Kelly and her lawyer for Thursday afternoon. He said we wanted to discuss the terms of the divorce and how much money Kelly wanted. They agreed to meet at her lawyer's office. I called Jerry, and he assured me that he would be at the meeting with all the evidence. Bernie also arranged with her lawyer to have a mediator present at the meeting to listen to both sides. They were confident that they would get everything. Around 11:30 p.m., I was almost giving up. I knew it was a risk, but I hoped that Patty was often at this hotel on business. I decided to get a room, rest, and then head back to Austin. I got up to go to the front desk when Patty walked in with an older man in a very nice suit. They walked to the elevator and went up to his room. I wasn't sure how long I would have to wait, but I was determined to wait as long as necessary, perhaps all night. I moved around the lobby so as not to look like I lived there. Patty left the elevator at 00:45. The guy didn't last long. I approached her and asked to talk. "Hey, Patty, do you remember me? We met last week." "Sorry, I don't think I know you." "You sat next to me at the bar, told me your husband left you, slipped something into my drink, and then made a fake video of us having sex. I think George hired you." She laughed. "You're a music producer." "Yes, I remember. George said it was a big joke. The video was to be used at a birthday party your friends were throwing. It was an all-male gathering. Everyone had to laugh at it." "No, Patty, that's not true. George sent the video to my wife and told her I was cheating on her. He also sent it to my boss. My wife left me, slept with a stranger, and I got fired. Can we talk, Patty?" Patty stopped laughing. A terrible expression appeared on her face. She nodded for me to follow her to the bar. We each ordered a drink, but I kept an eye on my glass. I told her the whole story. "I feel terrible, Mark. You seem like a nice guy. What do you want from me?" she asked. "My lawyer and I have set up a meeting on Thursday afternoon with my wife and her lawyer. I have a video expert who is willing to prove that the video is fake. I would like you to come as a witness and tell the whole story. I will pay for your airfare and hotel accommodation if you want. I'll also pay you $1,000 for your time." "That's what George paid me to set you up. You know what, Mark? You send me to Austin on Thursday morning and back to Nashville at night. I think I should help you get out of this mess since I started it. Keep yours. $1,000. I think I'll get satisfaction from seeing your wife's reaction. I can't believe she didn't at least talk to you. She didn't even give you a chance to explain herself." "No. She had already passed judgment by the time I got home. Her punishment started the night she forced me to watch her have fun with some guy over Skype. It was the worst night of my life. I decided to get a hotel room and return on Wednesday. I booked a flight for noon for myself and tickets for Patty. After everything was settled, Patty offered to accompany me for the night for free. I thanked her but declined. I was still married and wanted to stay true to my marriage vows. On Wednesday afternoon, I met with Bernie and Jerry. I told them about Patty, and we planned our strategy. We decided that Patty would come forward first, then Jerry would expose the video, and then Bernie would countersue for divorce. Bernie was also preparing a lawsuit against my former record company. We were also going to file a lawsuit against George for interference with family relations, since he was the reason for my divorce. It's unlikely to go anywhere in Texas, but he'll have to spend money on a lawyer. Bernie has already found out where he lives. Bernie, Jerry, and I met for lunch, and then headed to our meeting. Patty texted me that she was taking a taxi to a meeting. Everything was going well. I was glad that I could finally prove my innocence, but I was sad that my life with Kelly was over. Perhaps I could have tried to restore our relationship if not for her verdict on our marriage. We met Patty in front of the office building, and then we all went up to the 9th floor, where the lawyer's office was located. Kelly, her lawyer, and the mediator were already in the room. The mediator turned out to be a very beautiful woman. One of the attorney's assistants showed us into the room. Kelly, seeing Patty, screamed, "What is this slut doing here? Have you been entertaining her all this time, Mark?" Her lawyer made her sit down and calm down. Neither of us said a word. Since we had set up the meeting, the mediator asked us to start. Bernie stood up and explained what we were going to do, which was to prove that the video was not what it seemed. The intermediary saw the video and, like everyone else, assumed it was real. Patty spoke first and told her story. Kelly continued to call her a liar until the mediator finally told her to shut up. Patty was quite convincing. The intermediary asked, "Miss Jones, you said you were hired to frame Mr. Lambert. Were you paid to be here and tell this story?" "No. He offered, but I refused. I'm telling this story because it's true and what happened. Mark was unfairly accused, especially by his wife. His wife should have at least talked to him and not humiliated him like she did it." Kelly suddenly turned pale. For the first time, she began to doubt everything. Patty continued, "Like I said, I tried to get Mark to willingly take me to bed under the pretense that my husband was cheating on me. He refused, saying that he was happily married to a wonderful woman in Austin. I could tell he really loved her. I almost didn't want to continue the plan because it seemed so sincere. But I did it anyway, and now I regret it." Kelly was very quiet now. She clearly began to doubt. She seemed to believe Patty and realize what she had done. Then Jerry spoke. He connected his laptop to the big screen TV and started playing a video. First at normal speed and normal size. Then, using his software, he zoomed in on the image and slowed it down frame by frame. Jerry was a professional, and everyone in the room knew he knew his stuff. He pointed out that I never moved or showed any emotion or pleasure. My eyes never opened. He also paused the video on a shot of George's reflection in the mirror, clearly showing that he was behind the camera. Patty identified him as the man who paid her to set me up. So everything came to its logical conclusion, and the hunt was completed. Now Kelly was crying and apologizing to me. She begged to speak to me alone. I said, "Oh, so now you're ready to talk to me about it. It's too little, too late, Kelly. Unlike you, I have irrefutable evidence of your cheating. Remember, you sent me the video." I nodded to Bernie. He walked over and handed Kelly our counterclaim for divorce. "Mrs. Lambert, you are charged with treason and mental cruelty. We will give you and your lawyer time to review this, then request a hearing from a judge." Kelly almost lost consciousness. She cried non-stop. Her lawyer just sat there, saying nothing. The mediator stood up and said that her services were no longer needed. She agreed to be a witness at our hearing, as did Patty. The next day, we filed a lawsuit against Mr. Jenkins and his record company for wrongful termination and violation of my 14th Amendment due process rights. We demanded $5 million. For the next 3 days, Kelly kept calling, but I didn't answer. Finally, 4 days after the meeting, I responded. She persuaded me to meet to talk. Kelly stayed with her friend, and I stayed in the apartment. She arrived that evening. "I need to tell you something, Mark, so please listen. I really thought this video was real. I was so angry at you, and all I could think about was revenge. Now I understand what an idiot I was. I should have talked to you and listened to your side. I deeply regret what I did to you. I am ashamed of my actions." She started crying. I knew she was sincere. "Kelly, you know what hurt me the most? All those things you said. It was terrible and evil of you. It's something I'll probably never be able to forget. God, Mark, I didn't mean any of those words. You're a great lover. You're so much better than those two guys. Honestly, I didn't enjoy sex with either of them. I faked everything to get back at you. I really did. I believed that you cheated on me. It still hurts, Kelly. I appreciate you saying that. However, it doesn't erase what you did to me. You refused to give me a chance to talk to you. You humiliated me. You insulted me with words. You broke our marriage vows. It will probably take me a while to forgive you, but I promise one thing: I will never forget what you did." I understand that, Mark, but you need to know that I love you very much. I don't want a divorce. I was hoping that you would find a way to take me back. We can go to counseling. Maybe when you forgive me, we can get back together. We can make love. I want to have children with you. Please, Mark, I will kneel and beg if you want. No, Kelly, it's not that simple. The divorce will happen, but I will change it to irreconcilable differences, and we will split everything in half. At this point, every time I look at you, I see you with someone else. I'm not ruling anything out. In the future, but right now, we're done. I understand, Mark, and I don't blame you. If I were you, I wouldn't go back after what I did to you. But I'll tell you this. As long as I have the opportunity, I will not allow myself to have a relationship with another man. So please, if you definitely don't want to go on a date with me, tell me. I'll assume that if I don't hear from you a year after our divorce, then you're not interested. Deal. I still love you, Kelly, and I'll miss you. We'll see what happens. She left my apartment, and we got divorced. We divided everything equally. We each received about $30,000. About 6 weeks later, I was still trying to figure out what to do with my life. I needed a job, but none of the other studios needed new employees. Bernie called and said Jenkins' insurance company was offering $300,000. Rumors about my situation spread, and it was bad publicity for them. They needed everything to calm down. I told him to agree. It's better to take what you have now. Bernie got $100,000. I got $200,000. They never apologized, but their reputation was ruined. Rumors quickly spread throughout the industry. The day I went to pick up my check, Ellie called me. She was in Austin and wanted to talk to me. We agreed to meet for dinner. Ellie was 20 years older than me, but quite attractive. She was divorced after finding out that her husband cheated on her with his secretary a couple of years ago. I wondered what she wanted to talk about, but I was glad to see her again. We met at a nice restaurant in downtown Austin near her hotel. After we ordered drinks and food, she proposed to me. Mark, I'm moving to Austin to start my own record label. I've saved up some money and I have investors. I want you to work for me. You'll be the main producer. What do you say? I'm honored, Ellie, but I have another offer. I have money too. Let me be a partner. Together, we will put this new company on the map and sweep away all the current Austin labels. You don't have anyone in particular in mind, do you? We both laughed. She thought for a moment and said, "Why not? Let's do it, partner. I already have people working on it. Consider yourself part of the team already. I'm moving here next week, and we'll start working." We ate dinner, drank a bottle of wine, and then went to her hotel bar. We drank another bottle of wine and danced a little. Over the next few months, we launched our business. Ellie brought a lot of talent on her side, and I brought a lot on mine. The band I was working with before I was fired ended up joining our label. As I predicted, they became popular. They canceled the contract with Jenkins, claiming that they signed me. Jenkins eventually went bankrupt. I was divorced for about 6 months. I really missed Kelly. I knew I had forgiven her, but I didn't call. People felt it and mentioned it at dinner. You miss her terribly, don't you, Mark? About whom? I said. You know by whom, you stupid boy. Kelly? Yes, Ellie. I really miss her. I miss her so much. Do you still love her, Mark? Yes, Ellie, I still love her. I don't know what to do. She hit me on the head. Call her, you idiot. See what happens. That evening, I called Kelly. Hi, Kelly, it's me, Mark. How are you? Mark, oh, I'm fine, I think. Listen, I heard that you and Ellie are starting your own record label. Seems like things are going well for you. Yes, everything is going well. Kelly, I miss you terribly. I also want you to know that I have forgiven you. I heard her crying into the phone. Mark, I miss you terribly too. You have no idea how much your forgiveness means to me. Every night I wait, hoping that you will call. I haven't dated or been with anyone since we broke up. I keep hoping that you will call. Have you met anyone, Mark? No, Kelly, no one. Kelly, I love you. She didn't answer for a minute. I heard her crying and trying to regain her voice. Then she said quietly, I love you too, Mark. I invited her to dinner, and she quickly agreed. We started dating. We made love on our third date. We've been dating for 3 months now. I'm thinking about asking her to move in with me. I don't know what will come of this, but now we are just living one day at a time. Meanwhile, everything else is going great. Ellie says I'm much happier now that Kelly is back in my life. So this is where I am now. Kelly is getting more beautiful every day. I think we need to decide something soon. I think I would like to have children, but I don't want them to be outside of marriage. We're going to Las Vegas next week. This is a pretty simple wedding venue. Oh well, I think I'm still living one day at a time. You're probably wondering what happened to George. Well, I actually visited him at his apartment in Austin. He was a little scared by my claim, but more scared when I grabbed him by the throat and pinned him to the wall. He left Texas 3 days later, and I don't know where. Yes, one day at a time. This is how I live my life now. Well, maybe until I have children. Wait and see. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.